rhythm of the railroad pounds to the cadence of a country's progress. The incessant iron elbow of the driving rod jerks wheel over steel out of Frisco, Fargo, or Chicopee Falls. The firebox is fed to turn tons of water into high-pressured steam and send a 484 wheeler on a red ball freight out of St. Paul, Sioux Falls, or Simkin Switch. Only the throttle can stem the progress of the iron wheel.
The steam locomotive has become so prevalent in modern media that it may just show up in your everyday life. Perhaps you are watching a Christmas movie or starting a campaign of the new video game you've just purchased. Whether you're watching television, reading a book, or even playing a video game, the steam locomotive has reached a legendary status among rail fanners, Western history buffs, and economists alike. The unique mode of transportation is celebrated for its timeless aesthetic and robust technology that has stood the test of time. Many people associate the historic establishment with the American Wild West, but the steam locomotive itself is not originally from the United States at all, but from the very heart of Britain. The steam locomotive came to be just as the Industrial Revolution in England was growing. Without the steam engine to power it all, England's Industrial Revolution would not have been on the fast track to success and expansion of British power. At the turn of the 19th century, Britain was in the midst of an economic revolution centered around new mechanization and social change. Many industries experienced new tools for efficiency and productivity. The first to mirror modern production methods was the textile factories. Advancements in the textile industry included the invention of the spinning jenny, the water frame, the spinning frame, and even the flying shuttle used to pull thread horizontally across the opposing threads on a weaving frame. The Industrial Revolution was also marked by an increase of women and children in the workplace, especially in the textile industry, in order to keep up with the demand of the pace the new mechanization provided. The working class raced to keep up with the ever-changing workforce. The language used indicates that some factory workers resented the fast-paced change. Most were shocked and amazed at how unprepared everyone seemed to be for the rapid industrialization.
The steam engine had no precedent. The spinning jenny is without ancestry. The mule and power loom entered on no prepared heritage. They sprang into sudden existence like Minerva from the brain of Jupiter.
The creation of the steam engine was an incredibly impactful invention. The innovative high-pressure steam engine was created by Englishman Richard Trevithick. Trevithick was born in the British mining town of Cornwall. His childhood teachers described him as disobedient, unintelligent, and stubborn. Historians consider him almost entirely illiterate for the majority of his life. His passion, however, was tinkering with machines and adding and removing parts to see exactly how they worked. In his early adulthood, he followed this path and became a steam engine repairman at different mines in the surrounding areas. However, on his off time, he focused on his personal passion project. His invention was a steam locomotive that not only carried many people and quite a bit of cargo, while keeping the cars compact enough to be a reasonable choice compared to other options. On Christmas Eve in 1801, the puffer that Trevithick had long been developing, nicknamed the Puffing Devil, was finally ready. The locomotive had a pressure-operated piston connected to a cylindrical horizontal boiler and was large enough to seat all the passengers who were eager to accompany Trevithick on his inaugural run. The run was a success. A passenger claimed it chugged along nicely.
Like a little bird, going faster than I could walk.
The success of his new creation was short-lived, as only a few days later the puffer was destroyed when it overheated and caught fire. In 1802, Trevithick took out a patent for his high-pressure steam engine. The same year, he constructed a stationary engine at the Coalbrookdale Company's work in Shropshire, forcing water to a measured height to measure the work done. The engine was able to run at 145 psi. An accident resulting in the death of a company workman taking place led to the decision for the company to no longer proceed with the project. The full locomotive remained unfinished until 1990. Three years later, in 1804, in Wales, Trevithick built the first steam-powered locomotive to actually run along a track. It was capable of pulling 5 cars carrying 10 tons of iron and 70 iron workers about 9 miles. It proceeded along at 5 miles per hour. After 3 trips, the locomotive was retired for breaking its rails. 4 additional years later, a similar locomotive, referred to as Catch Me Who Can, raced daring passengers around a circle in Torrington Square, London. Unsurprisingly, the rails were broken there as well. After his life of engineering and invention, Richard Trevithick passed away in 1833, with many of his projects still in use and much more success after his death. The high-pressure steam engine that Trevithick developed and patented was very important in the modernization and efficient mechanization of mining and its entire industry. This engine was smaller and more powerful than those the miners had been using thus far. The engine would be used in one of 2 ways. It could be used for pumping water out of the mines, but more importantly, moving the metal ores and coal out of the mine and up to the surface. After this, the ore and coal would be sent to a refinery or preparation site where they would be cleaned and processed. They would then be sent out to distributors to complete the final stretch of the journey to the consumers. Some of the coal would be sold from the distributor to the mining companies in order to use the refined coal to power the steam engines to mine more coal. The coal would travel to the purchaser by steam locomotive or steamboat, both powered by burning coal. The cyclical nature of this industry's role in the Industrial Revolution meant that it was powered by coal, making coal mining more profitable, resulting in a mutually beneficial economic system for those involved. But why would they choose coal? Originally, the machines would be powered by wood. Not only was there plenty of supply, but it was easy to access just by walking into the forest. And it was significantly cheaper to harvest wood. The problem, however, was that wood did not last long once burned. It also did not heat up fast enough or reach a peak height temperature that was efficient enough. Therefore, coal was considered as an alternative. This proved worthwhile, as coal burned much longer, could get 2 to 3 times hotter than wood, and although harder to harvest, the price ended up being cheaper to use coal, because a lot less went a lot longer way than wood did. Coal far outweighed the convenience of using wood, and so the industry quickly converted to primary coal use. Britain's use of steam locomotives also revolutionized transportation and enabled farther reaches of their empire to be accessed much easier. It also contributed to the migration of people toward urban centers. A major example of the railways enabling England's lengthening reach is the development and funding of the Argentine rail system. British investors were able to fund and help plan the Argentine railways, which helped England move the supplies they sought there to the shore faster because of the new, convenient steam locomotive that they were using. The downside to this was that it was wildly inconvenient for the citizens there, as the railway was not useful for them unless they were transporting supplies to the shore to be imported to England. This is reflected in many other places within the English sphere of influence. British rail history is tumultuous and long, but nevertheless incredibly important.